What's up, everybody? My name is Kiefer, and welcome back to Strikedown, the show where we take two characters, compare their powers and abilities, and answer the age-old question:
who would win in a fight?
Tonight's duel will be Superman vs. Sun Wukong, and as always, like Stanley famously said,
the person who'd win in a fight is the person that the scriptwriter wants to win.
For our first combatant, we have the Monkey King himself, Mr. My Skin's Not Rubber, It's Rock, I meditated so long I became God, the staff-wielding, cloud-hopping, main monkey man of the mountain, Sun Wukong. The Monkey King was originally born from a stone egg, conceived by the heavens and the earth. In the early stages of his life, he sought out a Taoist sage to teach him the secrets of immortality. After searching for 10 years, he found and studied under a sage that taught him how to cloud jump, how to shapeshift his body, and gave him his first form of immortality, of which he has several, by teaching Monkey to free himself from the cycle of reincarnation. Years later, he would travel to the underworld and remove his name from the Book of Life and Death. In doing so, the Monkey King gained autonomy over his own soul and removed himself from the jurisdiction and bureaucracy of heaven. After he learns that he hasn't been invited to the Immortal Peach Banquet, the Monkey King sneaks in before the party, eating all of the peaches and drinking their golden elixir and heavenly wine, which would ultimately be the event that kicks off his years-long battle with those high above. As he continues his journey, he acquires his signature staff, the Ryu Jingubong, from the palace of the Dragon King. The staff size is able to be changed at will, from as small as a toothpick Monkey can keep behind his ear, to as large as a telephone pole which he can wield with ease. The staff is said to weigh 17,550 pounds, meaning that should this staff be dropped on your toe, it would be the equivalent of about 5 mid-sized sedans falling onto your foot at once. Between his decades of training, godly elixirs, immortal peaches, heavenly wine, and removing his name from the Book of Life and Death, Sun Wukong is nigh immortal. With skin that is described as being hard as diamond, the Jade Emperor and his celestial armies were unable to execute the Monkey King, with all the forms of divine punishment failing to harm him. Finally, they resorted to sticking him in the heavenly furnace used to craft the elixirs of the gods, from which Wukong survived 49 days, emerging not only unharmed, but significantly more durable than before. Eventually, the Jade Emperor, who for those of you who don't know is literally the most powerful being in existence, has to resort to trapping Monkey under a magically weighted mountain where he remains stuck for 500 years. Our second fighter, the big blue Boy Scout, Man of Steel, Mr. I hide my face with glasses, green is the worst color, my mom's named Martha too, Superman. I debated what version of Superman to use for this fight. You could obviously pick one of the more insane versions like Prime 1 Million or Pre-Crisis, but both of those versions are nearly omnipotent deities that could probably give the Jade Emperor himself a run for his money. Then there's the other end of the spectrum with the older versions of Superman who was much weaker, but in this case his opponent is just too strong and that would also be a boring fight. Ultimately, I landed on the modern era of Superman, although fights with this era of Superman are almost always boring if you don't involve kryptonite. Kal-El landed on Earth in the late 1930s, where he would be found and raised by Jonathan and Martha Kent. They would go on to name him Clark, where he would be given the foundation to become Earth's greatest hero. Despite his human appearance, Superman is a Kryptonian, meaning that he ages significantly slower than humans, has much more durable skin, and derives powers from solar energy. As everyone knows, he can fly, easily keeping up with planes with seemingly no effort, and has an unimaginable level of strength which extends through his entire physiology. This gives his lungs the ability to breathe out with enough force to cause gusts of winds and freeze targets over, eyesight equipped with X-ray vision that's able to pierce any material besides lead, and heat vision that is a little difficult to measure exactly, but is able to cut through both kryptonite as well as constructs created by Green Lanterns, so we can assume that there's really no earthly material that could withstand it. Much like Wukong, Superman's skin is nearly impenetrable, with blades, bullets, and missiles being brushed off without so much as a scratch. He can move at supersonic speeds, with some depictions showing him moving close to, if not at, the speed of light, and he has supersonic hearing, which can pick up even the faintest of sounds over vast distances. Superman has been shown to be able to shift entire planets, lift whole cities, and stand toe-to-toe with the other gods of the DC universe. But with that, let's get to the duel. First, we'll go over the advantages. While Sun Wukong is almost definitely strong enough to stand up to and keep up with Superman in a fight, I think it's pretty clear that Superman wins in terms of flat-out strength. The Monkey King may be able to twirl a 17,000-pound staff with ease, but ultimately the feat of moving an entire planet is always going to be difficult to top. With that being said, however, Superman often struggles more against magic users than against supervillains who rely primarily on their strength, so Wukong's host of magical abilities would do a lot to even the battlefield. Superman almost definitely edges Wukong out in speed as well, however it is worth noting that Wukong's Cloud Somersault ability allows him to jump more than 33,000 miles in a single leap. For reference, the circumference of the Earth is just under 25,000 miles, meaning that while Superman can approach light speed, the Monkey King wouldn't be too far behind, with his leaps taking him more than the entire distance of the planet in a single bound. From there, however, things get a little bit more complicated. While he demonstrates godly levels of strength, Wukong is typically shown with his cunning and planning being one of his key skill sets. He rarely relies on fighting with just brute force and is much more akin to Loki, the trickster god, than to someone like Thor. Because of this, it's incredibly difficult to say exactly who would win in a fight. If we assume Monkey knows of kryptonite and Superman's weakness to it, I think the scales start to tip in his favor. Like I said before, Wukong is known for being mischievous and sneaky. Along with his ability to shapeshift, Wukong has a wide variety of Taoist and Buddhist spells at his disposal, ranging from shields and barriers to duplication to control over the elements, and even his famous freeze ability, which is able to hold even the most powerful beings trapped in place for a few seconds. If he has knowledge of Superman's greatest weakness, I think it's pretty easy to assume that he could utilize that along with his host of magical abilities to take down the Man of Steel. However, if we assume that Monkey King does not know of the MacGuffin Rock, things get a lot more complicated. Both of these heroes are known specifically for their durability, with Wukong straight up having multiple forms of immortality. Because of this, I feel like most fights between the two would destroy the entirety of whatever planet they're on before either one of them really begins to sustain any damage. The only real way to beat either one of these fighters without some magical weapon that's able to kill them simply because the story needs to allow them to die is with magic, whether it being magically weakening their durability or somehow hurting them on some sort of ethereal level. And because of this, and in an effort to not leave it as a stalemate, I think Wukong edges it out even in the event that he doesn't know about kryptonite. Despite all of Superman's feats of strength, Monkey's greatest feat is being sentenced to die by the god of existence and by fate itself, and then being unable to successfully kill him. Superman outclasses the Monkey King in terms of strength and possibly speed, but Wukong's elemental abilities would completely negate Superman's breath, and his heat vision is unlikely to do much against Wukong, who survived 49 days in the Heavenly Furnace. Even in the event that Superman outclasses Wukong in combat by a mile, I genuinely don't know if it would be possible for Superman to kill him. And that's the same sort of issue that you run into with Deadpool. However, in a fight between Deadpool and Superman, my call would be that Superman just knocks Deadpool out, throws him in a hole full of wet cement, and then launches the hardened cement cylinder into space. Obviously, this doesn't kill Deadpool, but without the interference of another person, Deadpool is essentially gone forever. However, with Wukong, there's no way the power difference between them is so high that Superman could do the same thing here. So I think the answer comes down to whether or not any of Wukong's magical abilities would be able to harm Superman, whose resistances come exclusively from his strength. And if not, I think this fight genuinely might be a stalemate until Wukong discovers kryptonite. But thank you everybody so much for watching. Tonight's video was suggested by Suppaman. Make sure to let me know down below who you'd like to see a matchup between in the future. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more. Check out the second channel for the Let's Plays and the streams, and I will see you next time.